In patch 3.29, Grinding Gear Games updated the Abyss mechanic. I wanted to invest heavily in Abyss, so I spent 50 maps and approximately 52 divines and 5 hours to run a high investment Abyss strategy to see just how good it was. I got 150 divines back and about 100 divines profit after costs. This is around 20 divines per hour or approximately 2 divine profit per map. The results for this are interesting, and I will go into full detail on all of them, but for the headline stats, I would say that they're not actually too far off. There are some high rolls in here and some low rolls, but I'll get to all of that in the results section. The real question is, how profitable is Abyss? And I think it's pretty good, very, very fun, and incredible XP. The preparation I ran was very simple. I ran 50 heavily invested Abyss maps. I purchased maps through the trade link provided in the description, but essentially it is the modifiers that I can't run, but I wanted at least 70% map quantity and 70% currency on the maps. If you are going to run this yourself, you should adjust the regex you want to your build and then search for similar originator maps. I then added Maven chisels to each map, Delirium Orbs, and as many as you can do. I could do 3 without noticeably slowing down my build, so I did 3. But if you can do 5 or 2 or 1, then that is what you should do. I added a Lightless Astrolabe to the Atlas, and the scarabs I ran are these ones here on screen. This is to maximize the amount of Abyss monsters that spawn. This is so that I can get as many Abyss monsters spawning in a tight area as possible and have as many of them then die in the same area to then spawn as many Beyond monsters as possible. This is a strategy that requires a relatively large sample size to return a meaningful profit. As you are investing heavily in getting currency rewards, you will not want to be just running 1 or 2 maps in order to get a high average return. You're banking on things like Hinokora's locks, mirrors, fracturing orbs, high shards, and tainted mythic orbs. So in order to run a single map, you would probably make a loss, but if you ran 20, 30, 40, 50 maps as I have, you are much more likely to bring in large results as you've seen here. But the amount of divines you also get is quite high. The way that these maps were run was very simple. I just came into the map and just killed everything up to the boss as soon as possible, and then went around and cleared the rest of the map. There was no special source in terms of... You could very easily run this on a map that doesn't spawn the boss yet, or something like City Square where you can have the bosses die very quickly to get more altars. I elected not to do this because I had everything set up on the beach map, and that was where I did all my testing for this. But if you want to make a bit more money, do it on a map like Jungle Valley or Toxic Sewers, and you can get this a slightly better result. Because of the high XP per hour that this strategy gives, I was leveling 7 Enlightens, I was leveling 6 in my offhands, and then 1 in my 3rd ring slot. This meant that I was getting a bit of extra profit, which I've added in, but separately, so you can see if you want to do this yourself. There are about 200 chaos each to level, and, you know, I leveled more than a full set during this, so I would highly recommend doing it. If you have a Mageblood build, this strategy works incredibly well for that. You are killing a lot of monsters, a lot of magic packs, a lot of rare packs, and this will give you a lot of buffs. I did not do it with a Mageblood, but I had a very strong high DPS clear build. If you have a weak build, simply do it with less orbs on your maps, and you should be fine. The headline result for this strategy was just under 150 divines in full return. Now this is separated by the costs that I spent, which was 52 divines, which means I got just under 100 divines full profit. This means that the average profit per map was just under 2 divines, which means I on average pulled in 3 divines per map. I've separated out the loot into various categories, so you can include whichever categories you want to. If you think that they are too lucky or not too lucky, you can make your own decision as to whether or not you think this is worth doing. I got 22 raw divine orbs, more than 1,000 chaos, 5 Valdos puzzle boxes, 13 darker halves, and a Voidborn reliquary key. These are your bread and butter currency or currency adjacent items that liquidate very quickly and are basically raw chaos. I also got large amounts of smaller chaos, smaller currency, a large amount of alterations, exalted, ancient orbs, eldritch currency, and tainted currency. All of these more than make up for the cost invested. So you're almost certainly never losing money, but really doing a strat like this, you are fishing for those big drops. Your fracturing orbs, your Hinokora's locks, your mirrors, your more expensive divination cards. I did get incredibly lucky during this test. Although I got none of the high valued currency, which is what I was fishing for, I did get an insane cat drop from Kosis. This adds about 16 divines to the total. You can take that out if you want. I have sets of the results in the description below that have that taken out if you want to see what the results look like without it. I decided to include it purely based on the fact that I got 7 or 8 things that would be deemed too lucky to happen all at once, and I decided to just give the full results and people can take out what they do and do not want from my results. I also got the Harvest Atlas Anomaly twice, which was on the top right quadrant of the map. This gave 4 crystallized rancors during the entire test. Again, I've added them in because they were part of the strat and I was running on beach. If you want to take them out, again, they are separate in the description below, and you can just take the numbers out and see what the numbers look like yourself. As I said earlier, I also leveled 7 enlightening gems. This was approximately a divine per level gem. So again, another 7 divines. I included this because of just how much XP you are getting during the strategy. I went from almost 99 to 100 with 3 deaths, and I still almost got to that level. And I did get that level a couple of maps later, just from doing a bit of leveling afterwards. So the XP in this strategy is very, very, very high. You're killing a lot of monsters, so I decided to include it. I leveled more than a full set, even without the quality that I was using. So this is definitely part of the strategy in terms of making money, and I would highly recommend doing it. I also got a few rare bases. This is something the Abysses can drop, the Abyss monsters can drop, and some of the Delirium rewards can give you. These are, again, part of the rewards from this strategy. So I did include them. You get a lot of fractured bases. You get a lot of high quality bases just based on the number of monsters you're killing. You get a lot of eyes, which you can mass sell, but some of them can be worth, divines or 2. You get quite a lot of uniques. I got 2 gulls. I got a couple of T1s and T0s. Nothing massively valuable, but again, all of these are jackpot items that could be very valuable. So this is almost a jackpot strategy, as with any kind of high investment strategy, but the base result is still a very high amount of currency. In a similar vein, I also got quite a lot of memory strand equipment from running originator maps. If you get memory strand equipment on a very good base, you can simply take it to your ship, to your boat, and then you can get them to slam on an essence for a good mod and pick the best result and sell it. You can usually get 10, 20, 30 chaos. You can sometimes get a divine or 2 from a good item, and it's very quick and easy. I did not include all of the results on this, but I did include a couple of the more middling standout results. So I added a couple of divines for this. This was very simple, just basic essence slamming on memory strand gear. I got 122 standard maps. I got 14 originator maps. I got 14 nightmare maps. 45 basic charts. I got 2 Kishara's Rest, which were approximately 100 chaos combined, and a few boss drop maps. All of this comes to an actual total result of just under 20 divines per hour, with all of these things included. If you exclude every caveat loot drop that I've found, you would be getting just over 10 divines per hour, which is still a reasonable amount, but less than you would hope for a high investment strategy like this. Still, I think this result is very strong, it's very fun, and there is the potential to get really, really lucky with a lot of the good currency drops, and you get a lot of swings. It's a very satisfying and fun playstyle. So, should you do this strategy? Overall, this was an incredibly fun strategy. It was very rewarding, but it was very slow. If you are going to put all your results in quad tabs like I was, you'll fill them up very quickly. I had to go through all 4 of my quad tabs for this. You get a lot of profit per hour, but it can feel quite daunting putting 50 divines into maps in one go. So I would make sure that you have enough capital back to do a full large sample size for this. The Abyss rewards are fun. They can be a little spicy, but not too bad. They don't hurt too bad. It's a good, fun strategy to run. There is very good headline profit. Liquidating it can be a bit annoying, but if you just like seeing a lot of swings, it's great. High amounts of liquid currency. There is good special returns if you're looking for unique bases or high quality bases. A lot of items will be dropping. You can get a very, very high ceiling, but also you can have maps, periods of 10, 20 maps where you just see very little, and it can be quite dissatisfying. On the disadvantages side, you need a high capital investment. There's a lot of annoying map buying you have to do. You know, you need chisels, Delirium Orbs, Astrolabes, or the scarabs. It requires a very powerful character. You know, the maps take a quite reasonable amount of high effort and a good bit of time. There are the annoying 16.5 mods you have to deal with, and you do have to, if you really want to maximize the profit, you do have to pick up and sort through a few extra items, you know, the eye jewels, you have to click on the chests, and there's also the problem of you have to play a Delirium, you have to essentially choose how much Delirium you want to go with, and I know that that's not for everyone. If you have a really strong character, I think this is great. I don't know how much better you could get from this, but I will be testing a few more strategies later on. But if you have a strong endgame character, I would highly recommend doing this, at least testing it yourself to see how it feels. So my conclusion is that this was a really fun strategy to run. Maybe not quite worth the investment, but I had a great time. I got a lot of currency from it, and I would highly recommend you at least give this strategy a go. Even a simpler version without the Delirium Orbs and without the 16.5s could net you a good amount of XP and a good amount of fun. You'll get less currency, but you'll invest less. And I think that that might be worth it for a lot of people, especially if you're just going for the loot tile loot. If you've tried out a strategy like this or something similar, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear, because there's not a lot of guides about Abyss, aside from the rare stacking modifiers play, which I tried, wasn't a very big fan of. If you have any questions about the build, the strategy, or the guide, please leave them in the comments below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. But if not, I will see you in Raycast. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.